2, 3. Right. Hello again. This is Denise, and welcome to another episode of Life Cycle 360. And today I have two guests with me. And I mean, these two persons that are in this Zoom call with me right now will go way back. And it's an honor to have them together again because it's so long we haven't sat down like this. And I'm looking forward to this little chat. And today we're going to be talking about what it's like for the persons who are offshore. What are their experiences dealing with the COVID-19? We spoke with paramedic on the ambulance. We spoke with a medical dispatcher. Now we want to hear from the professionals who are out there in the seas forever and ever, who know about true quarantine, what it's like for them. So we have Miss Kathy and Joseph, and we have Mr. Sheldon Jessemy. And I don't introduce people. I always like to let whoever is here talk about who you are, where you're working right now, a little bit about yourself, and we'll get going. Who wants to go first?
Well, ladies before gents. Take it away, Kathy.
Go, Kathy. Go, Kathy.
I am Katia Joseph. I've been an EMS technician for the last, wow, I'm afraid to call the figure. However, for the last 20 years or more. At present, I work at a central processing plant, BHP to be precise. And yes, I'm a female paramedic offshore.
Nice. Well, welcome and good to have you here, Kathy. All right, Rastaman, your turn.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gents, the general listening public, Denise and Kathy. My name is Sheldon Jessemy. I am a paramedic, and I have been a paramedic for a very long while as well. As a matter of fact, Kathy and myself, we go way back, and we are proud members of batch 15 of the EHS era. Yes?
Yeah, chest in the house. No more GMR, boy. We rocking EHS days right now.
So that's where I came from. That's where I came from. Presently, I am a offshore paramedic / part-time paramedic at GMR. So I am in the two places.
Yeah? We can't cut you off completely from there.
Yes, that's where my navel string seems to be buried.
Right.
I am the proud father of two amazing children. You know, a boy and a girl. And the girl 9 years old, the boy just turned 1. As well as I'm a paramedic, paramedic instructor, EMS instructor, ACLS, BLS, PHTLS, and all the badges. I'm also trained in limited search and rescue, and the list goes on and on, right? So we've been at it for the better part of 21 years, you know, so I'm in a bit of everything. So almost like the IRS of EMS. Yeah.
Got you. That's a good way to put it. IRS of EMS. Wow. Kathy. But anyway, thanks for being here and thanks for taking the time. So let's get down to it with some questions because I really want to know how you're making out there. And it's good for everybody to get a better perspective of what's happening with the offshore medics. And from a female perspective and a male perspective. So the first question I have for you guys would be, could you just explain for persons who are listening, what is your roles and responsibilities? Because we want to make sure that people understand a medic offshore has different roles and responsibilities from a medic on an ambulance, obviously. So what are those roles and responsibilities? Kathy.
So at my at where I am, we have a lot of stuff that we do. We do flight logistics, we do administrative, and then we do the medicals, all the medical stuff. However, it may not end there. Anything in excess, they call on the medic to assist. right? So to have it, to state it more clear, we are like the go-to person when they have different projects, whatever they have in plan on that particular day, the medic will be involved.
Right, right. So you're basically medic slash, what you could put there, medic slash what?
Everything.
A medic slash everything, okay.
Medic peel out.
Yeah, a medic pillow. Okay, what about you,
Yeah,
Sheldon?
that's what it is. So basically, like Kathy said, administrative work is a big part of things, right? I am also responsible for logistics, right? What persons fail to understand, I think one of the major differences between being a paramedic on land and a paramedic offshore is that the persons on the offshore location tend to have a relationship with you, and they would run to you for basically everything, you know? So in that we are counselors, we are guidance officers, we work closely alongside with HSC, you know, because sometimes they don't really have that purview as to how certain tasks that they're embarking upon might impact on an individual, right? So we bring the eyes and ears and that type of mitigation, medical kind of mitigation for the persons who work in offshore. And next thing that we do is we log and keep track of the various chemicals that persons will be interacting with, you know, so that in the event that anybody is doing a job and they have any kind of emergency, you know, we will know exactly how to respond, where to respond, and, you know, basically take the best care of that person, you know. So the role of a medic offshore, to me, is basically, like I said, the pilau, the kalaloo, you know, it's all mixed into everything, you know. Health, environment, and safety, we fall under the umbrella, and we try our best to, you know, facilitate as best as possible. Yeah, so any and everything,
Right.
as Kathy rightfully said, they will call you medic for. Yeah?
Right, so I think it makes the role of a medic quite, you have to be of a certain, I would say, your ability to function under pressure, because it sounds like a lot
It
where
is a lot.
when it comes to having that demand placed on you, because one of the things I remember when I was offshore is that door of knocking and that phone ringing never stops.
Never stops.
And you would think that people would have, hey, you know, look at the time, maybe the medic is resting. You know? So you always.
So this is something that this is something that you must remember, Denise. The medic works round the clock, but gets paid for 12 hours.
Oh gosh, we kind of going in some kind of places here. Anyway, let's keep it.
Let's keep it moving.
Keep it moving, yes. So let's go on to question number 2. So basically, the question is that the medic role is pretty much dynamic. I would say that we're not going out there to only work on emergencies. So just we are not just emergencies. But the thing is, what about the COVID situation right now in terms of how has the challenges for your duties, how has that impacted you with COVID patients coming about on the platform? Has that increased your workload? Has that given you more instability when it comes, like, you don't know what to expect every day? I mean, how has that challenged you with the increase of COVID patients for your life as well as your duties and your roles?
Well, COVID, okay,
Go ahead, Kathy. You go ahead, Kathy.
COVID has affected everything, and being a medic, it didn't fall short of affecting that. So you have like an additional load, if I should say, to carry where COVID is concerned, because new procedures, new emergency plans were put in place, new policies to incorporate this whole thing called the pandemic, COVID.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And before COVID, we didn't know anything about quarantine. So now, normally, if you work like a 14 on, 14 off rotation, you would be home for like 14 days. But now, with the advent of COVID, 5 of those days, or 7 in some cases, they take it away so that you could quarantine for 7 days prior to going offshore. In that 7-day period, you have the PCR test to be completed. If you are negative at the end of the second PCR test, then you are permitted to go out. Also, offshore, the protocols, as I said before, have increased, whereby you will now have places for isolation in the event that someone tests positive for COVID. You now have to do COVID tests on particular days during your shift, just to ensure that, you know, everyone is safe out there. And in addition to that, you have the mental side of things, where some days you might have persons just not able to cope for one reason or the other. And I believe COVID has impacted greatly on persons' lives, physically, mentally, holistically, I would say. Because now you're away even more. Instead of 14 days away, you're away in some cases 19 days from your loved ones, 19 days from land, or 21 days in some cases, 28 in some cases. So as you would know, it's a dynamic situation offshore, right? You might leave home thinking you're going for 14, and that 14 might end up being 21, as the case may be. So COVID has been impacting us in various ways, but being a paramedic or EMS technician, you know, it's like you can't plan. We walk into so many different things, but because of the foundation training that I always want to highlight, which has impacted my life back in the days of EHS, with the likes of Terrence and Brent, and even the ETITT institution where, you know, I was a part of, that has laid my foundation for me and has carried me so far through this entire journey. And I would always say, if there's a next world, you know, where I wouldn't change it, I would like to be a paramedic. I would not switch roles, because it has made me who I am today.
Right. So basically, you've kind of learned to roll with the punches, if I could say that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Nice. What about you, Sheldon?
So I like where Kathy was going there, you know, and one of the terms that I've become very comfortable with is fluid, right? So as a paramedic, I am forced to become fluid. So for me, COVID fatigue is a real thing, because we have persons working extended hours, right? Added to which, the socializing that we are accustomed to, because back in the day, you know, before the advent of COVID, after a long day's work, you could go to the gym and you could exercise, and everybody knows that Sheldon loves to exercise, right? So now, I have been battling with not being able to wind down or get those endorphins flowing through exercise. I love to push weight, you know, and that's something that has been restricted, you know, added to which I could see different changes taking place within my body. So that's
our next
mental something.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look at, because that's beforehand I was slim, and, you know, now again some handles and these different type of things. So yeah, you know, it's really impacting. It's taking a toll. So mentally, persons have become exhausted. You know, physically, you've become possibly out of shape. You know, and you know, but it has forced me to get into different avenues. You know, to get into stuff to keep the mind occupied. You know, to keep the brain cells functioning and firing and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. And that is something I think it's a little more difficult for you all, because at least with a person, a paramedic on an ambulance, and even like myself, where I'm still working 2 weeks, but I can still take a drive and cool my head if I want. Same thing with a paramedic on an ambulance. There's nothing that you can do there except maybe walk up the stairs.
Walk to the heli deck, and do some introspection, do
Yeah.
some meditation, find a quiet space and stuff like that, and just, find something to be thankful for, because that's one of the things that used to bug people with me beforehand, working on a rotation at 24 or 14 days or 21 days. When I get home, I would normally be on the go, because you're confined when you're offshore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's always something to do when you get home. But now, seeing that things have totally changed, is totally different. You know what I mean?
It is. It
It's really
is.
different. Yeah, it's really
It
different.
is. I think it's our next level of quarantining that you're all experiencing, because it's like I feel like it's double the amount of our average person that is experiencing what it is, because you're locked down there, and then you're locked down to quarantine before you go out, and then you're locked down when you get home too, because you can't where you're really going and where you're really doing. So mentally it is sounds rough.
Yeah.
So that's something I don't think anybody will understand unless they're in those shoes that you're in. Yeah, boy. Yeah. But my next question would be, what about how do you all feel dealing with COVID patients? Let's say, like Kathy, you said that you had to do tests out there. Everybody wearing masks offshore. How is it? How do you interact where, is it the same precautions? Because you're coming out there with everybody negative, right? So do you all still take precautions? Do you feel like, okay, you get a call, oh, this person is now positive, it was a mistake, I don't know, but can it be how do you feel having somebody who is there and they are positive and it's a confined space that you're in? How do you all feel about that at that time if you get that news?
Well, so far for me, I have not have any positive cases on my tour. However, what I notice is that persons no longer come to you to say, well, I have a headache or I have flu-like symptoms. I would like to have 2 Panadol, multi-symptoms. Yeah, so your OTCs remain fixed because nobody complaining, because you have a protocol in place which states if
Right.
you show up with this,
Right.
you will be isolated immediately and a COVID test has to be done on you, right? And remember, the isolation incorporates all the gabs, the goggles, all the PPE,
Oh, right.
everything else, and then you are put in this isolation area, which is a separate room until that PCR test comes back negative, hopefully. So I am so happy that so far, and I hope it remain like that. And I have not gotten any positive patients on my tour, but the whole there's somewhat a bit of anxiety surrounding the whole protocols that are in place and that kind of thing. So if I pass and somebody sneeze, they will stay in that position until I pass away, because I would want to know, well, you just sneeze, yeah, you okay? You know what going on? They know that I will ask questions, if they have if they have flu-like symptoms and that kind of thing.
So yeah, so you're like the police woman on the, the platform. You sneeze there. I heard something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what COVID has done.
Okay,
Right?
so you running the route. So we have the Gary Griffin on BHP. Sheldon, what about you? You don't have that. So, well, I shouldn't say you don't, but what are your views on that?
So basically is pretty much the same for me. How should I say? I think that I understand that it's not if you're going to get COVID, it's just about when and your ability to manage, So for me, I'm pretty comfortable dealing with persons who might be affected or dealing with symptoms, right?
Right.
One of the hardest parts for me is the policing that Kathy talks about, because, some persons tend to have a false sense of security when they did 2 PCR tests and both of them were negative, but you still traveled to your location. and
Right.
you're interacting now with different persons. And I don't know what Harry would have done before Harry got here.
Right.
If Harry was honest enough to do what he was supposed to do and remain in quarantine, or even if the person who is bringing food to my room would have, you know, gone out at a private just some type of things before and passed it on, you know. So being a police, a COVID police, as Kathy so eloquently put it, yeah, it gets a little bit redundant, you know, because from time to time you might pass through a zone and you see some fellas working, and as soon as they see you coming, they put up the mask, you know? And that's the game that people play, you know. But for me, it's all about getting into the mindsets, you know, and reminding them and reinforcing the fact that, hey, you know, you're not 100% safe. You know, I have had to interact with COVID positive persons offshore in recent times. You know what I mean? And for me, again, it's all about being able to bring the calm, because it appears that when somebody realizes they have some type of flu-like symptoms, you know, they start to panic. You know, I always try to encourage them that being honest is the best possible solution. You know, that's the way that I would be able to intervene at an early stage and try my best to get this thing under control and stop it from spreading. You know, so it goes with the relationship that you have with the persons that you're working with too. You know, and that trust, that patient confidentiality and that trust, you know. But like I say, the scary part about it for me is knowing that all the mitigations that I put in place personally, the possibility is still there that I could possibly contract the virus and still bring it home for my loved ones after shift or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like it's gonna be like that for everybody, because as you say, you can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be in one particular place. It could be anywhere that, you know, dependent on, you know, your exposure and all of that, so that you can get it. So
yeah, you could even go to the grocery and contract COVID.
yeah, right. Wow, so much differences with your old boy. I'll just ask one more question and we can wrap it up with that. But I know as an instructor as well, once they hear you're a paramedic, once they hear you are offshore, everybody, I want to work offshore. I want to work offshore. So what advice would you have for persons who want to become, or you know, their main goal is to, I want to get to the point where I'm offshore as a paramedic? What are some of the advice you would give them?
And I could go first.
All right, go. Yes, yeah, Katz. What advice you give them?
Kathy, music love, please.
Outside of the technical qualifications and the prerequisites to come offshore, one of the things
I want you to just give us a little, just a briefness on what those things gonna be. When you say the pre-qualifications, what are you looking at to come offshore? What do you have to have?
outside of the paramedic qualifications.
Yeah, like what would you?
You have to get your T-BOSET.
Right.
And you also have to get the your UCOR, which is your medical, right? So outside of that, I will I will advise anyone, especially females,
the medical,
when you have that prerequisite going, or the next thing is to be yourself. And you have to have a personality where you will embrace challenges, because you will be challenged in the offshore environment, and you can't shy away from it. So you embrace the challenges and you be yourself and go for your dreams. If you want to work offshore, you could work offshore.
Right. What about you, Sheldon?
So for me, it's all about being prepared, right? It's all about being prepared. The qualifications that Kathy spoke about, don't wait on a company to send you to get those things, right? I think you need to be prepared for opportunities, right? So if it would mean you probably doing, investing in yourself and doing some type of program to set yourself aside or set yourself apart from the status quo, is gonna mean doing that. something else that I recently learned that I would want to tell somebody asking me how to get offshore is a quote by Einstein, I think it was. He said that a mind that has been stretched by a new idea or experience can never go back to its old dimension, right?
Right.
And that is something that persons need to take into context, because coming offshore, the idea of coming offshore, it is achievable. But when you get offshore, you need to cement yourself as somebody who is capable, who is willing. You have to have that attitude to win. You know what I mean? And you need to be willing to go above and beyond to secure your position being offshore, right? So your attitude is also going to determine your altitude, right? So stretch your mind to that dimension, you know, and just embrace everything as it comes, you know, and you're going to be successful.
I would add to what both of you all just said by understanding that your role represents qualities of a leader. So you cannot go offshore without being sure of who you are, or understanding that your role here is to make, it's almost like a mother role. I don't know, I want to say mother or father role, like a father role, a parent, because people come to you to talk about their home, they come to talk to you, they're not feeling good. And I mean, it sometimes can become where you really feel like you're just a caretaker. And spending more and more time offshore, you realize that you build relationships with these people, and you do feel like, hey, you okay? You know when something wrong with somebody, you know when something is off, and you become that person that they can confide in. So even your integrity is something, you cannot go offshore there and you just want to get into everybody coming to you and you just want to get into everybody's business and talk. All of that is so important, because people will not come to you when they are really and truly sick, or when they really and truly have issues. So your role and how you see yourself is so important. So I just wanted to add that to what both of you all were saying, because offshore is for not for the weak, it's for the strong.
And you're gonna find all different types of persons in that offshore industry. And as the medic, you're so right in what you said. You know, you need to have a certain level of professionalism. So it's almost like when somebody comes to you, they're talking to their dog at home. No matter what you tell your dog is never going to you know? So you ask your dog, doggy, what cat he tell you? You know, we need to have that type of confidentiality about it. And I will also like to add one thing too. You know, when persons ask the question like, you know, how do I do this, or how do I do that? The only thing that I can rely on is my experience. You know what I mean? And in my experience, I didn't wait for anybody to give me anything, right? There was a risk associated with becoming a paramedic back in the year that I became a paramedic. And I had to resign to go and pursue my studies to become a paramedic, hoping that I would have been successful, you know, and there was a lot of drama associated with me becoming a paramedic then. Don't ever be ashamed or afraid to shoot your shot. You know, I always say that nobody becomes a paramedic without a story. Nobody becomes a paramedic without a story. You know, we need to get over some type of adversity. You know, so just invest in yourself and go hard, you know, and the older heads who offshore right now, we cannot see ourselves being offshore for very much longer.
Could we say the senior heads, please? Thank you.
All right, yes.
I find that
so the senior heads. Right? So you guys make sure, you know, that you are seeking your interest. You know, any information that you want, feel free to reach out to me, or you can reach out to Kathy or anybody who is in the industry, because I am sure that without being extended an olive branch back in the day, I was not going to end up where I am at today, you know? So, what road for Gucci to run, man?
That's what we're talking about. So with
Yeah.
that, I'll say thank you so much, guys, for sharing your stories and getting your stories out there for other people to understand what it is you're really going through right now. And it's very much appreciated. And I want to say thank you all who are looking on. Thanks for viewing, and thanks for just tuning in every time, because doing these interviews is really something that I think is very much needed, and we look forward to doing more. So without further ado, guys, I will say goodbye. Sheldon and Kathy, thank you so much. And
With me.
yeah, and I guess you'll be seeing this soon. So stay tuned for more to come from Life Cycle 360. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.